Greetings to you, heroes who've come to this place to gain knowledge. My familiar and I have been waiting for you. The stars have aligned. The time is once more upon us. As the trees lose their bounty, the earth prepares to slumber. The time is once more upon us. Yes, I can feel it. It is in the air. It is in the stirring of people to gather such things about them that will preserve them through a brutal winter. They're longing for cheer, and that which can satisfy them against the small death that the world must suffer in its cycle. Yes, indeed. Well, we certainly can't miss this opportunity, can we? And we should not. For there is much mischief and power in this time of year to be exploited by those who would use the power that they have for such dark purposes. So here we are. Halloween is upon us. And it is time for that which I celebrate every year, the Halloween game night. Now, as far as my predilection for special holiday-themed adventures, generally I have a few rules. If it's an ongoing story or campaign, nothing in it is drastically going to change the characters. Goodness knows they already have enough challenges. So another thing added on top is probably not in the balance of the story that I'm telling. However, it can be a nice change of pace. My campaigns generally go on for more than a year, sometimes 2 or 3, and therefore breaking up sessions with occasional frivolity or a nice heartwarming story in the middle of a gritty epic, or a bit of supernatural horror on top of the other adventuring mayhem and daring do is in order. So, not going to give away the details of what I have planned. Oh, no. But it is good to revisit methods that are used in these situations, because it might give you some ideas on what you could do for either a one-shot or to throw in an adventure that is themed to a particular holiday as it comes along. There are 2 styles to these holiday adventures that you can run: advertised and unadvertised. If you do these long enough, the players will come to expect them, so you can almost assume you can use the advertised method for when you've built up such a reputation. Now, You can take advantage of unadvertised holiday themes by springing surprises on your players. Depending on the preparations you go through, they may find out your intentions as soon as they walk through the door. A holiday-themed Halloween adventure, for instance, you might string up skeletons and have gargoyles and zombie decorations scattered hither and yon through your game space. That when the players walk in, they may notice immediately and realize that you have some ideas in mind. But that's just the tip of the iceberg, isn't it? Having place standards for your players with, again, appropriate themes. A centerpiece for the table, perhaps. One of those nice melting skull candles that has red wax for blood coming out of the eye sockets and mouth. Or perhaps you would dabble in, larger statuary or peculiar lighting. Taking players out of what is customary is one of the easiest ways to change moods, after all. If usually you strive, as I do, to keep the game space bright enough that your players can easily reference books in their character sheets, well, perhaps a dimming of the lights, changing them to something a little less comfortable than standard luminescence, something in ambers for gaslight adventure, or perhaps special color changing bulbs in reds, purples, oranges, can certainly add a dramatic impact, as long as it's not so dark that they can't see what they're doing. Adventures done by candlelight, now that can be extremely good at setting a mood that is tense. However, candles don't shed a great deal of light, so if that's the only illumination that you're going to be using, bear that in mind. Also, candles leave hot wax. LED candles, on the other hand, don't have quite the same atmosphere, but they can get a good effect without having to worry about the candle wax. As long as they have fresh batteries in them, you should be able to make it through a session, and again, your players will appreciate the extra effort you took for the atmospherics. As far as decorations, well, your options are limitless, but a trip to the Halloween shop should be able to get you some reasonable decorations to line shelves with, to hang from the walls, perhaps to drape over your game area. I myself have some gray spider webbing that we're going to be putting up. I do have a few techniques that have been tried and true that I will be using. Sound is another very important thing. Fortunately, Tabletop Audio, the site I use for most of my game sounds, has excellent moody music. And I have a very good Bluetooth speaker, a cell phone, a laptop, any number of things that I can use. When you are trying to distill a mood, everything that you can do to put what is building that mood in your player's mind is useful. Handouts, something that they can feel, something they can see, can be especially impactful in this kind of a scenario. Surprise. The elements of surprise can be very, very useful. As I said, if you're going to play your hand, when they come into the room and they see that you've got it decked out for Halloween, well, some of your surprise is going to be gone, but if they weren't expecting it, they may not know what you have planned. They may know you've changed the lighting. They may know that you have interesting, dynamic sounds that are unsettling. But when it comes to revealing the centerpiece, what is the theme and the nature of what you're driving at, if that's a surprise, it's going to be even more impactful. If it's just the same old tired monsters they've been fighting dressed out with a template slapped on them or something, you're going to lose a great deal of the impactfulness you were hoping for. But if it's something new, something different, well, with any luck, you'll be able to get at that plucking the heartstrings and terror effect that you want. Now, of course, this is going into Halloween, where we find ourselves. But every holiday has such opportunities. You can, of course, part with the ghoulishness for Christmas. And that's a good time for an advertised game night, because you encourage everyone to participate. Maybe you have a Secret Santa program where everybody buys themselves little gifts, and you're surprised by what you get from somebody else. Secret Santas are also a nice way so that nobody feels like somebody is buttering up to one person or another. It's something everybody gets a little something and nothing too over the top. Also, a communal meal. Sharing a meal has been an important part of building a community and a group since people first started eating together. And for us gamers, chipping in on a pizza can be just as important in building a group together as an entire month of not skipping a session. That shared food can be a very nice change if your group doesn't do that. Having a potluck where everybody brings their specialty dish. Well, unless your friends are insistent that the only thing that they can do is burn water, in which case encourage them to bring chips or something to drink. Depending on your age and your ability to handle yourselves, more potent libations may be on or off the table. I have not myself run very many sessions that kind of refreshment was brought or encouraged, and I've got mixed stories when that happened. So now, as I've grown older, that's become less and less of a thing that happens. I'm not saying that for situations where I'm feeling under the weather, occasionally the odd rum drink hasn't been consumed at the table, or in sessions where I have to get to bed right away after the game session. That sometimes helps, but nothing that I would say is necessary for a game. But yes, potluck or communal meal is useful. For my game, I'm going to have snacks, candy, and things that are the usual fare for Halloween get-togethers. I'll probably have some Halloween-themed cookies or some such. It's usually sweet snacks. That's how these things go. As far as other less notable days, well, if you've followed me at all, St. Patrick's Day is one of my favorites, so I always love to bring out leprechauns and other fae. In almost any game, too. Dungeons and Dragons, I've brought out leprechauns galore. My players could tell you all kinds of stories about that. There are more than I even remember. But it doesn't matter. The particular game, when running a vampire game, the group ended up being given a barge full of leprechaun gold. They regretted it, but they did end up salvaging the day and having some good times. The leprechauns were powerful enough they even allowed several of the players to get tipsy, which they hadn't done in hundreds of years, because vampires. In a Warhammer 40,000 game, the players were rescued by the Emperor's Lucky Charms, which were short space marines in green and gold powered armor, who vanished as quickly as they arrived to save the players. It was amusing, and one of these days I really should write that up. It was a lot of fun, especially when the players didn't expect it. They thought, we're in the Warhammer 40k universe, he can't possibly spring leprechauns on us. The fools. Yes, indeed. That was a fun story that the players who were there will remember for a long time. And realistically, St. Patrick's Day is not a serious holiday that doing something special like that has always been kind of more of my signature thing. It steers away from ripping my players away from a pub crawl or something that they might otherwise do. So by spending the time here, I entertain them in a way that's thematically appropriate for the holidays. I don't do things for Valentine's Day, for instance, or if you're from the States, the 4th of July, our Independence Day. I rarely do things specifically for that, although if the opportunity presented itself to have like a cookout or something, I could fire up the grill, let my players bring meat along, and we could have a nice meal together. But those are the ones that I'm most notorious for: is Halloween, Christmas, and St. Patrick's Day. And yeah, perhaps you have some experience. If you've been in one of my games and would like to relate a story, well, comments are below. Feel free. If you have any ideas or have any questions, I'm certainly also same thing. Comments. I answer almost every comment you send me. So if you want to know more, feel free. So this is just my little quick Halloween fast hit. Another excuse to get dressed up and talk to you as I so enjoy doing. So, I am OmnusI, here once more in my Halloween dungeon lair, getting ready to fire up the fog machine and have at it with my players. I'm wishing all of you the very best luck in the world in your own spooky adventures in this time of Halloween. Thank you, and farewell.